Hello everyone, welcome back. Today we'll discuss one of the truly most important periods in English history, the Victorian era. This video is the 12th one in the series on the history of English literature, so make sure you watch the previous ones as well. Now, the Victorian era, named after Queen Victoria, who reigned from 1837 to 1901, marked a period of immense progress and upheaval. The Industrial Revolution was in full swing, turning England into the workshop of the world. Factories, railways, and new technologies revolutionized life, and England became the dominant global power through its vast empire. However, with this progress came challenges: overcrowded cities, poverty, child labor, and poor working conditions. The Victorian age was deeply influenced by the ongoing Industrial Revolution, which began in the late 18th century and continued throughout the 19th. The development of new technologies such as the steam engine, the spinning jenny, and improved iron production led to the rapid expansion of factories and industries. This transformed England from a primarily agrarian society into the world's foremost industrial nation. As people flocked to cities like London, Manchester, and Birmingham in search of work, urbanization took hold. While this led to economic growth and the rise of a wealthy middle class, it also brought major problems. Overcrowded cities, poor sanitation, and unsafe working conditions became everyday realities for the working class. Alongside industrial growth, the Victorian period saw the expansion of the British Empire. By the end of the 19th century, Britain controlled vast territories across the world, including India, large parts of Africa, and numerous other colonies. The empire brought immense wealth to Britain, but it also sparked debates about colonialism, the exploitation of other nations, and the moral responsibilities of imperial power. See, for many Victorians, the empire was a source of national pride, symbolizing Britain's power and influence on the global stage. The phrase, "the sun never sets on the British Empire," that reflected the vast reach of the British colonial rule. However, not everyone saw imperialism in a positive light, and the realities of colonial exploitation were questioned in some works of literature and political debate. The Victorian age also saw significant political reforms that aimed to improve social conditions and expand democracy. One of the most important developments was the shift in power from monarchy to parliament, as Queen Victoria became more of a symbolic figurehead, while political power rested with elected officials. Several key reforms shaped the political landscape during this time. One of them was the Reform Act of 1832. This act reformed the British electoral system by redistributing parliamentary seats and extending the vote to a wider portion of the middle class. While it was not a full democracy, it marked a step towards more representative government. Another important ones were the Factory Acts starting in 1833. These laws aimed to improve the working conditions in factories, particularly for children and women. They regulated child labor, limited working hours, and required safer working environments. Then there was the Second Reform Act of 1867. This expanded the vote further, allowing many working class men to participate in elections. It was a major step towards a more inclusive political system. These reforms reflected the growing awareness of social inequality and the need to protect the rights and well-being of all the citizens, not just the wealthy elite. The Victorian period was also a time of major scientific discoveries that challenged the traditional religious views. The publication of Charles Darwin's On the Origin of Species in 1859, a watershed moment that introduced the theory of evolution and natural selection, which contradicted the biblical account of creation. Now, Darwin's ideas, they sparked intense debate and forced many Victorians to reconsider the relationship between science and religion. While some saw Darwin's theory as a threat to faith, others tried to reconcile science and religion, arguing that the two could coexist. This tension between science and belief became a recurring theme in Victorian literature as well, as writers explored the moral and philosophical implications of new scientific knowledge. One of the most defining and often debated aspects of the Victorian age is this Victorian morality, something which had a profound influence on the culture, literature, and social norms of the time. See, Victorian morality, it was a strict code of conduct that emphasized virtues like duty, respectability, sexual discipline, sexual restraint, and self-discipline, heavily influenced by Queen Victoria's personal values and the era's religious fervor. This moral framework promoted family unity, hard work, and charity, creating an ideal of what it meant to be a good Victorian. However, it often masked significant social hypocrisies. While publicly upholding these standards, society quietly tolerated issues like prostitution, child labor, and severe poverty, especially in rapidly industrializing cities. The clash between these high moral ideals and the harsh realities of life, alongside growing tensions between science and religion, that deeply influenced the literature of the time. Writers like Dickens and Oscar Wilde often critique these moral contradictions, exposing the gap between appearance and reality in Victorian society. And now, let's start talking about the literature during this period. We'll start with poetry first. Let's look at the two key poets who defined Victorian verse: Alfred Lord Tennyson and Robert Browning. Tennyson was one of the most beloved poets of the Victorian era. He became the Poet Laureate in 1850 and he remained in the position for over 40 years. His poetry is known for its emotional depth and beautiful use of language. He often wrote about personal loss, the passage of time, and the struggle to find faith in a changing world. One of his most famous works is In Memoriam A.H.H., a long poem written in the memory of his close friend Arthur Henry Hallam, who died suddenly. Tennyson uses his personal sorrow to explore universal questions about life and death, making the poem resonate with readers who, like him, were grappling with their beliefs in an age of scientific progress. Remember this work since it gets asked in the exams many times. Tennyson also wrote many poems like the Ulysses, the Lady of Shalott, the Charge of the Light Brigade, among many others. Robert Browning was another leading poet of the Victorian era, known for his innovative use of the dramatic monologue. It's a form in which the speaker reveals their character and emotions through their speech. I mean, Browning has, kind of become synonymous with dramatic monologues, Because when you say dramatic monologue, one of the first names that actually comes to mind is of Browning. He has become that synonymous. One of his most famous dramatic monologues is My Last Duchess, in which a duke speaks about his late wife. As the poem unfolds, it becomes clear that the duke had his wife killed because she did not live up to his controlling expectations. The poem is a chilling exploration of power, control, and moral hypocrisy. Now, talking about the novels, see, the novel became the dominant literary form during the Victorian era. Why? Because novels allowed writers to explore complex characters, societal issues, and moral questions in great detail. Two of the most iconic Victorian novelists are Charles Dickens and George Eliot. I mean, of course, there are so many more novelists from Victorian period and important ones like Hardy. And all are very important, and not just novelists. You see, this entire age in itself is super important, even from the exam point of view. Because if you will just have a look of the writers who belong to this age, something you will find on my website, you'll realize that there are so many names that today form a part of the English literary canon, all from this age. So make sure you prepare this age in depth and very thoroughly, or you may join my online course in case you are interested and if you want your preparation to be, more sorted. Coming back to novels, no discussion of Victorian age can ever be complete without talking about Dickens, Charles Dickens. He was a master storyteller known for his vivid characters, rich descriptions of life in 19th century London, and his biting social commentary. His novels often focused on the struggles of the poor, and he criticized the harsh realities of industrial society. One of his most famous works is Oliver Twist, which tells the story of a young orphan who escapes the brutal conditions of a workhouse only to fall into the hands of a gang of thieves in London. Through the character of Oliver, Dickens exposes the cruel treatment of the poor and the corruption of institutions meant to help them. Another masterpiece by Dickens? Great Expectations. This follows the life of Pip, a young orphan who dreams of becoming a gentleman. The novel explores themes of social class, ambition, and personal growth as Pip learns that true happiness does not come from wealth or status but from loyalty, love, and kindness. If I talk about drama during this period, then there's just one significant name that pops up, and that is of Oscar Wilde. His plays often satirize the hypocrisy and superficiality of Victorian society, using humor and clever dialogue to critique social norms. One of his most famous plays is The Importance of Being Earnest, a comedic masterpiece about mistaken identities, love, and social pretensions. So that's it for today's video, my dear learners. If you want more, then just swing by my website, theankitajain.com, or you can also download my app for some free material. If you want everything at one place, then join my online course and let's face and ace the exams together. Do not forget to join my Telegram channel as well for some free PDFs and quizzes. You can also follow me on Instagram and Facebook for daily updates. And if you have any questions, just feel free to contact me on the number showing above. Also, subscribe to my channel in case you have not already, and press the bell icon so that you're always notified once I upload a new video. With that, I'll take your leave. We'll meet soon in the next one.